Hey y'all, welcome to our second sprint review. My name is Alyssa DiCarlo and I am a part of Team SCRUMdiddlyumptious, and I will be showing off what we accomplished in this sprint. So our first user story that we accomplished is manage organization, which basically means that staff should be able to create, update, or delete an organization from their database. So real quick, I'll just go to the organizations tab. So right now I'm at the home tab of our application. Just hitting organizations tab brings you right on over to organizations. So our first acceptance criteria is that a staff member must be able to create a new organization, which can be done just by hitting new right here and put all this information, and you've got yourself a new organization in your database. Our second and third acceptance criteria is that a staff member must also be able to update and delete organizations from their database, which easily can be done just by hitting edit or delete right here after you hit the organization ID. So our fourth acceptance criteria is that the organization table must be populated with attributes to be finalized by the product owner. So the product owner has yet to finalize these attributes, so I just threw some together in this overview. So the organization IDs here, organization name, type, street name, so on and so forth. Our fifth acceptance criteria is that a staff member must also be able to add or assign constituents to an organization. I'll show up PwC right here. So real quick, let me just explain this. In order to get constituents attached to an organization, you have to go through affiliations first because a constituent must be affiliated with an organization. So down here we have our affiliations with PwC. You just hit this affiliation number right here, and then here we see that there's an affiliation with a constituent, and it seems like he is a donor, so you can hit constituent ID here and you can get to this constituent's information. So Mr. Joseph Baylog is a donor for PwC. Our sixth and last acceptance criteria is that each organization must also have a designated primary contact from the constituent table. Going back on over to our organizations tab, I'm going to hit PwC, and right here we see primary contact. So if you hit that, you can also see that Mr. Joseph Baylog is also the primary contact for PwC with Athens Habitat. Alrighty, so our second and final user story that we accomplished in the sprint is manage association, which means that the staff should be able to create affiliation rules for every constituent assigned to a user and organization and track the status for each organization affiliation. So I'll go ahead and show that off by going to the affiliations tab right over here. So our first acceptance criteria is that the staff should be able to create an affiliation role for every constituent assigned to a user. So here we just hit new, and then this is where you can create your new affiliation. Our second acceptance criteria is that the staff should be able to create an affiliation role for every constituent assigned to an organization as either primary, secondary, or etc., which we can show was done here. This constituent is a primary donor of PwC. And our last and final acceptance criteria is that the staff should be able to track the status for each organization affiliation as either current or former, and we can see that this constituent here is a current donor for PwC. We are also building a manual to go along with our Salesforce application when we hand it on over to Athens Habitat. So here we can see the instructions on creating, updating, and deleting entries from the Salesforce database. So for this sprint, we did a lot of things positively, such as communicate very well, especially through Zoom, and just making sure that everything gets accomplished on time and really learning and honing in on our Salesforce skills. However, we did have some drawbacks, like we're still not super great at Salesforce, so we're having some problems trying to figure it out as we go along, which hopefully will get better as time goes on and we have more practice with Salesforce. And we also had some issues with clarity on the relationships in our schema specifically. So let me just pull up the schema real quick. So as we were building the schema, we have a lot of extra lines that don't need to be there. So we're currently going through and trying to figure out exactly how we can get rid of those and but still be able to keep up the functionality of our application. So we have some improvements to do, but overall we were right on course with this sprint, and we're right on track with finishing everything on time. Thanks for listening.